right, so we're going to do something a little different. We're going to start with the law of one. Now I know I'm going to read it, but I know most of you know it, so go ahead and just say it along with me, okay? We are all one. When one is harmed, all are harmed. When one is helped, all are helped. Therefore, in the name of my true being, which is one with all there is, and is all powerful, one with the master saints and prophets, and one with the Christ, I ask that only that which is the highest good of all concerned happen here, and I give thanks that it is done. Amen. So just hold that in your consciousness for a little bit, because we say that often, don't we? The law of one. That's why we all know it. We have a series of brotherhood this month, and let's start with defining brotherhood. Brotherhood is a belief in the unity or cooperation among men, a feeling of kinship, alliance, a loyalty for a common purpose. So if we think about brotherhood, what is our common purpose? Jesus said, love one another as I have loved you, love your neighbor as yourself. Is our common purpose to bring Christ consciousness to the planet, to create heaven on earth? Is that one of our main goals of brotherhood? To see the Christ within each person? Would that be a common goal or purpose for brotherhood? Okay. If we look at Cindy's service last week, it was, who is my brother? And she talked about the parable of the servants and the judge. And it was Aquarian Gospel 158. And it was, when I was hungry, you gave me not to eat, was thirsty and gave me not to drink. I was a stranger and you drove me from your door. I was imprisoned and was sick and you did not minister to me. That, and she talked about it as it was our own light, our own Christ that was saying, hungry, feed me. Pay me attention. Let go of your unlimiting thoughts. Stop imprisoning me with your limiting thoughts. Take time. Be with me. Listen. It was, if we cannot see our own Christ and tend to it, then we surely cannot see the Christ in our brother. Right? So we have to start close to home, because brotherhood's a big subject. So this service was full of a lot of good stuff. I highly recommend going back and listening to it. Or if you haven't listened to it, listen to it, really. So as we continue our theme of brotherhood, how do we really feel connected with each other? How do we feel connected with our family and our friends and strangers? Or should we say our other brothers and sisters that we haven't learned how to push their buttons yet? Do we really think about brotherhood as children of God? In our daily life, are we thinking about and sending love to all of our brothers and sisters, regardless of what they're doing? And are we really feeling connected with the whole? And how are we cooperating among men? We have to ask ourselves, how are we cooperating? We tend to think that when we're in brotherhood, it's when there's a call for help. We come together for a big purpose, a big trauma, and everyone pulls together because we're all brothers. So we rush in to help to create something better because we like to be helpful, right? Because helpful is being good, right? Yes, okay. And usually it comes from in our personal life. There's a personal cry from help that someone we know or even don't know. And sometimes there's maybe most of the time, there's always that sense of urgency. There's an emergency where we have to drop everything and rush in to help, to save the day. And that's good, right? We're all going to rush in and help each other. If we look at race consciousness, the idea, the perception of brotherhood involves sacrifice. That I will drop whatever I'm doing or not do what's right for me so I can help other people. There's that idea of, well, I'm being a good brother because I'm giving up something to help somebody else for a greater cause. So if we look at the definition of sacrifice, an act of giving up something, especially for the sake or someone or something, for someone or something else. So the act of giving up something, especially for the sake of someone else or something else. And it's something that has to be of value or else it wouldn't be sacrifice, right? I'm giving up something that's real important to me. And when you're doing that, isn't suffering involved? Aren't you guys glad you came here for sacrifice? So, but suffering, isn't that supposed to be good? Let's start a little close to home. Who here has that issue where it's hard to say no to anybody? No matter what. Hard to say no. If you need me, I'm there. You need me, I'm there. How many people make other people's needs more important than themselves? Sometimes. How many people feel guilty if they don't do something to help someone? How many people have the I should do that? They ask me I should. I really have a million other things to do, and I should. And how? And now, how does that feel in your body? Yes, your body is going, oh, I don't really want to, but I should because I love you. I work hard. Because I love you, I sacrifice, I work hard so you don't have to suffer like I suffered, so you can have things greater than I have. And I know as metaphysicians, that's not kind of what we live in. But we've lived through that, yes? Because we all feel that, don't we? Yes. That's because it's still in our body. It's all up to me. If I don't do it, no one else will. I have to be the one all the time to come in and save your butt. Or do something. Because if I don't do it, nobody else will. But can anybody else do it if we're always doing it? Let's see. How about it makes me feel good to help others? It makes me feel good to help others. Does that mean that others always have to be in need for you to feel good? And now I know that we're only going over this because we always help people. So it's not that we don't help people, and I'm not saying we're not going to help people. It's that most of us always react and jump. Let's see. Who takes on the experience of others? We take on the experience of others consciously or unconsciously. Because when misery loves company. Mm-hmm. Oh, you poor thing. And then we meet each other at a lower vibration. It is that serving our brother. And sometimes when we get caught up in things, we're helping, and we're also sensitive. Our energy is so sensitive that our emotional body starts taking on the feelings of the energy that's happening, or the drama, or whatever you're helping. And then you find yourself in a different space, and you go, how did I get here? I was on my way over there, and now someone needed me, and now I'm involved in their whole family, and now I'm covered up in this drama, but it's all for good because I'm helping. I see it's hitting home with some people.
Vague memories.
Some vague memories. But because we are energy beings, and we take on, because we do love people, because we feel for people, because we are all connected. But aren't these reactions more than choices? I am in automatic reaction mode to just drop everything and be there. Drop everything and be there. And so where are we linking in our commonality, in our common purpose of brotherhood? Are we linking in our suffering? Or are we linking in a higher purpose? Especially people in healthcare, service industries, moms, parents. I mean, we all have this big heart, and we want to help everyone. And they're very admirable qualities, aren't they? Very admirable, very admirable. As a minister, when I'm counseling a client, I really have to be careful of really keeping that connection, because the energy goes out, because I love them. You feel that connected, but if I drop down and do that, then I can't serve, and then I can't be of the common purpose. As a massage therapist, I've tried to set my schedule, so I know what I can do, and I know what wears me out, and so I try and not create boundaries, but I set a schedule that I adhere to. And sometimes people call and go, oh, I'm really hurting, they're really hurting. It could be someone that I haven't seen in a long time. Oh, they called me, I can help. Or it's someone I see all the time. Oh, I love them so much. Of course, I'll be right there. And I have learned that I have to not just react, and I have to wait. Is this for me to do? And sometimes I can work late, and I feel good about it because I said, yes, this is mine to do. And the other times when I said, sure, I'll do that, even though I was worn out, I come home and I go, this is why I don't do this. This is why I don't do this. This is why I don't do this. Sometimes we have to keep learning why we do things, because I didn't ask. I didn't ask, is this mine to do for the greater good? So I've been working on that. Have you guys been working on what's mine to do? Okay. And as we start to learn what's ours to do and how can we best serve, we have lots of opportunities. There'll be times when it is ours and times when it's not. There was a time I was in an intersection and there was an accident in front of me. And so I got out and I went over. I was parked at a red light, wasn't involved in it. But I went out, young girl, and I sat and I rakied her until her dad got there. And I was on my lunch hour, and I wasn't concerned if I were late, and everything just kind of works out. There was another time when I was coming down 140, and I saw one of our members, or churchgoers, had probably a fender bender. And then I saw that Cindy was there, and there was other cars, and it wasn't because she was already there. I was like, is this mine to do? Should I stop? And Spirit went, no. I wasn't worried about getting to work on time. Is this mine to do? No, I need to keep going. So it's that we always have to ask, is this mine to do for the greater good? When we are in sacrifice, we feel tired, we feel stressed, we're not in alignment, we feel burdened. Are we cooperating in that space? Okay. When we choose careers, you normally know how much time and schooling is going to be involved. You know, for the doctors that go to school for umpteen years and work umpteen hours, and everyone's choice of what they do is a choice. And so they know what to expect. So if we choose, are we really sacrificing? So if you consciously choose, we're really not in sacrifice because we're focused on a desired goal. But the idea of sacrifice is in raised consciousness. From our Judeo-Christian heritage, the idea of suffering to bring you closer to God. Even though we don't preach that, right? In the Old Testament, the sacrifice, they had to sacrifice because sacrifice now I am giving my best. I'm giving my best meat, my best grain, my best of stuff to God to be connected to God. I'm sacrificing on an altar where I'm going to lay down earthly things and I'm going to lift them up to God so that I may now be connected to God, and now God will provide for me while I'm in my will. And then they have all these sacrifices for every time you did something, for every bodily expression, for everything that you did, there was a sacrifice because now you were unworthy. And you had a sacrifice because it was bad, or something bad is going to happen to the whole if you don't sacrifice. So the sacrifice became about you're unworthy and you have to be worthy to connect to God. And I have to let go of something that's important to me. If you didn't, okay, we did that. So even the idea of Jesus suffering on the cross for us. When I was raised Catholic, I'd go to communion and there's the over life-size version of the crucifix with Jesus on the cross, and the nuns would say, you did that, basically. Jesus died for you, and ate. What does that mean, at 8? I'm bad? Did that for me? Is it my fault bad things happen now? Our misunderstanding of in our little consciousness. It's my fault. Wow. I don't understand that at all. But I feel really bad. I feel really bad. And so now, when bad things happen, it must have been my fault. And so now, when bad things happen, then I must have to fix everything. Is that just me? Do we, in our subconscious, if we go back and look at the things that are still in raised consciousness and what we picked up as children, the ideas of giving things up for other people, the ideas that we're not worthy and we have to suffer. There's a lot of scripture on suffering for Jesus. In Philippians, it says, "For to you it has been granted for Christ's sake not only to believe in him, but also to suffer for his sake." So we are to suffer because Jesus suffered in this context. But in actuality, didn't he suffer he went through things that we would go through to show that we don't have to. And that in the end, aligning with God that you don't. So the whole point is to not suffer. Not suffer. I will show you I can make it through all that you will suffer and show you how to overcome death. Not you suffer for me to prove that you love me or that you're good. Breathe. And so there's many references to that, which I don't have to go over because you all are feeling them, right? Everything's being activated. Okay, everybody breathe. So how are we cooperating and seeing the unlimited nature of our brother? This is what Spirit said, how many great demonstrations of sacrifice and suffering do we have to do to feel worthy for brotherhood? No more. So as metaphysicians, we can say, well, that's not what we do. But if we go back to Cindy's service, when we try and implement tending to our own Christ light, our own connection to God, it may be a little difficult. Can you see why it may be a little difficult to make the tending to our own nature a priority? Because we have all this in our race consciousness that we have been working diligently to shift and change. How can I be as important as another? How can I follow my guidance for the good of all? So, everybody breathe. We're going to redefine sacrifice. Hallelujah. The first definition of sacrifice is to make sacred. To make sacred. To make sacred my connection with God. That's why they sacrificed. They were trying to make sacred that connection with God, but that's how they did it in their consciousness. The connection to my own Christ light is sacred. Sacred meaning belonging to divinity, be holy, regarded with respect. Dedicated, being dedicated to and guarded against any violation. So if we make sacred our connection with God, how does that impact the whole? I feel there was a question, but I'm not taking any questions. Jesus said, I give my life in willing sacrifice to men. I make my life sacred by staying connected to God while I share my gifts and abilities for all mankind. He didn't stay here to make sure everybody got it. He didn't go around and say, no, this is how you do it. He didn't follow and take on everything. I'm here to share what God gave me to share. And it's my joy to share what God gave me to share. We can't make sure people get it when they call for help, or we can't be the fixer of everything. We have to tend and, wait a minute, this is sacred space. This is sacred space. I have a good friend who lost her son suddenly a couple years ago. And she called and said, can you do the service? And I went, oh, sure, of course, whatever you want. I'm there, whatever you need. And then I had to meditate on it. Then I went to ask, because I got this and I got that it wasn't mine to do. Not mine to do. I've known her for 20 years. I know the boy. She's asked me. She needs me. It's not mine to do. So I had to call and say, you know what? God said it's not mine to do. But I will be there for whatever you need. And so then I got my guidance, and I went and I met the family before the wake, and I gathered them up and we prayed. I went, and during the wake I stood with the grandfather who I knew to be with him through it. And I kind of did just follow where I was guided to do, and then continue to do what I'm guided to do that's mine and my energy. And we went to the funeral, and it was in a big space, and the person did a great job, and it was not mine to do. And when we tend to rush into things, we get out of step in the divine order of things. We're out of step with that common purpose. I would have taken that opportunity for that minister to stand up and do what was her guidance to do. I would have been out of step. I wouldn't have been there how they needed me because I would have been focused on doing a service. Do you see? But if we refer back to why do we do all this, it's a reaction. Yes, I do it. I love you and you need me, I'm there. Great qualities. But we may be out of step for the common good for our brother. Spirit said, when our loyalty to our brother in the outer is greater than the loyalty to your sacred connection to God, you have forgotten the true sense of brotherhood. We are one with the master, saints, and prophets, and one with the Christ. Only that which is the highest good of all concern happen here. And how do we know which is good for the highest concern if we don't go within and get our guidance from the big picture? And it's not to make boundaries. Okay, now I'm going to make my space sacred. No one come into my space because I have to really think now. I have to go within, and it's not we're putting boundaries on it. It's a focus on, okay, now I'm going to focus, and energy follows thought. And so now the more I focus on making that sacred connection, the more easier and the more you'll feel it will be. I had a friend who said that she watched a webinar with Deepak and talked about meditation. And he said, meditate once a day, and if you're too busy, then you need to meditate twice a day. So it's about taking time to build that connection, make that connection sacred. In the Aquarian Gospel, Jesus said, make human hearts your altars and burn your sacrifices with the fire of love. And all the people were entranced and would have worshipped Jesus as a god, but Jesus said, I am your brother man, just come to show the way to God. You shall not worship man. Praise God, the Holy One. So how can we make that connection sacred? We can practice daily asking, what's mine to do? We can practice asking simple yes or no questions of how does it feel in our body? Because we know what our body feels like when it doesn't feel good, when we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing, don't we? Mm-hmm. Okay, so we got to get used to feeling, what does it feel like for a yes from God? Yes, this is mine to do. Yes, this is mine to do. So we can start by asking simple questions. I am a child of God. Yes. I am not a child of God. How does that feel? No. Yes or no questions. Something that you know the answer to. Yes, no. And just practice that every day with your eating. Is this the best for me? Yes. Is this the best for me today? What does your body feel like? Is it good for me today? The more we start to ask and go within for all the little things, when those emergencies arise, we will know how to serve our brother in the best capacity for the good of all concerned, because we will know how to get that answer. Let's go with it. And just breathe. And God. We ask to feel your love. We ask that all excess, limiting beliefs about service be lifted from our consciousness. We ask that all limitations that we may see on our brothers be lifted. We ask to feel your love so that we can feel that sacred connection in our heart. And just feel God's love pouring into your heart. And just ask to feel, God, let me feel your love as your child. Let me feel your love and guidance in doing what's the best for all concerned. Let me know what that feels like. Let me make sacred my connection. And just keep allowing that energy to flow and pour. Let it pour through your body. Yes, I am a child of God. Yes, I am worthy. Yes, I can serve my brother and still honor my sacred connection as I honor their sacred connection. As we link in the oneness of brotherhood, as all connected to God, and that spark of divinity that unites all of us. In this space, I desire to be, know, for brotherhood. And just feel what that feels like. We are grateful. And just take a nice deep breath. Feel that sacred connection. And it's always there. And when you're ready, just gently open your eyes. And how did that feel? Is it something that you think you can do throughout the day? Okay, good. All right, so as this week, as you go out, knowing that as you make your heart sacred with God, that you are also in brotherhood. As the song, we wish all the well wishes from May the Road Rise Up to Meet You. Beautiful blessing as we make our connection sacred. We also bless the whole. And so it is.